always started while Duncan and I were watching a scary movie. It was like metal grinding on metal, and at first it was tough to differentiate from the noises in the movie. But it continued even when the action on the screen was not supposed to be scary. In the pages of our novels and on our screens, horror movies have taught us one thing about survival. Even though the girl makes some poor choices, she always comes out on top. But what happens if the antagonist is not a scary, mask-wearing murderer, but instead a feather-tailed honking waterfowl monster? What would you do to survive the Goose story? By Allie Brosh. I hadn't planned on investigating the source of the noise because, as you know from watching scary movies, people who investigate noises die. But then the neighbor's dog began growling and yelping. I thought it was being murdered by something. I was sure something was wrong. The dog's yelp suddenly went silent. I braced myself for the disemboweling that was sure to follow and opened the door. But to my surprise, there was no immediate violence. I crept into the yard. A dark shape came into focus. It was a goose, lurking nonchalantly in the shadows, pecking at the ground. As I was looking at it, it emitted a horrible noise. It sounded like metal grinding on metal. When it finally registered that the source of the sound was merely a honking goose, I was relieved. But then I had a flashback of my childhood, feeding breadcrumbs to the ducks and being violently attacked by a goose. I remembered that most geese are dangerous psychopaths that become extremely violent for absolutely no reason. It occurred to me the goose was probably the thing that had been brutally attacking our neighbor's dog. I tried to sneak back inside before it noticed me. But it was too late. It seemed to me, it lunged at me and I stumbled backwards. I noticed that I'd left the door to the house wide open. If you were sitting on your couch and someone called you up and said, "I'll give you $1 million if you can guess what's going to happen next," you absolutely would not guess, "I'm going to be brutally, unexpectedly attacked by a goose in my own home." I ran inside to find Duncan yelling and throwing things at the goose while it chased him around the living room. The goose stopped, slowly shifted its reptilian gaze onto me. I froze. Oh no. What do I do? You see, it's difficult to flee effectively while inside a house. You can sprint across the room, but it won't be long before you encounter a wall or a piece of furniture. And then you have to angle back towards your attacker. But unless you can trap or otherwise disable whatever you're running away from, it's going to catch you eventually. We were able to track the goose into the kitchen by luring it in and allowing a blanket to fall back over the doorway. We would have to find a way to get it far away from the house, far enough that it could never find its way back. Before we could properly consider how to accomplish this feat, we noticed the goose's shadow looming larger in the doorway. It began pecking the blanket, testing to see if it could get through. There was an ominous pause. Then its head poked out underneath the blanket. We fled into our bedroom. But I knew what we had to do. We armed ourselves with the blanket and snuck a peek into the unlit hallway. We walked out holding the blanket in front of us like a shield. With every creak, we expected the goose to come lurching out of the shadows to peck us to death. Finally, we rounded the corner and spotted the goose in our living room. It was walking around and methodically pecking all of our belongings as if to convey, "This is mine now. I own it. Everything is mine." Mwah. As I watched from the doorway, I felt an absurd rage build up inside of me. Who does this goose think it is? It thinks it can waltz into my home and proceed to claim ownership of my couch and my DVD player? Geese have no business owning DVD players. It was entirely unacceptable. I made my move. The goose was caught by surprise and the blanket landed squarely over it like a net. I shoved the goose in. Our plan was to take him to a duck pond at the edge of town. Once we got him into the car, if it wasn't for the slight hint of moonlight shining through the car's rear window, I probably wouldn't have noticed the goose until it was too late. Its head poked up. I barely managed to grab the ice scraper out of the glove compartment and scream, "Drive faster!" We approached the pond and came to a screeching stop. We poked him with the ice scraper until he fell out of the back seat. We slammed the doors and sped away. We never saw it again. I like to imagine that it found the duck pond and chose to trade its violent lifestyle for one of gentle paddling and feasting on breadcrumbs. But in the back of my mind, I know that Goose is still out there, somewhere, living like a wild beast in the woods at the edge of town, shambling the pond at night to terrorize the ducks. I know it's lurking below the surface of the murky pond, watching for children throw breadcrumbs, waiting for them to get a little too close.